It's pretty easy to figure out what's going on around college football with lack of depth, and times are changing with NIL and the transfer portal, as Kirby Smart talked about his roster with spring practice underway.
We got a lot of new players. It feels like more new players than ever before, which I think I say that every year. But the numbers don't say that it's more new guys, but it certainly feels like that. We're averaging about 33% new per year, which you'd like for that number back in the old days to be 20 to 25% new every year. But it's turning over more and quicker, which we have less turnover than most places. We pride ourselves on retention.
Yeah, and retention is not what it once was, and it probably is going to get worse somewhere down the road, is it not? It's trending certainly in that direction.
Yeah, thank you, Haley.
Thank you, Haley, for the independent verification.
I'm just looking at it now. I didn't realize that Haley was in a robe sitting on the back porch someplace down in Miami, maybe Coral Gables. Am I supposed to care more that she's doing this?
That's unfiltered, Haley.
Yeah, that's why she has the robe on. It's unfiltered.
Yeah, Kirby Smart's very happy that he's not dealing with this. He is dealing with what he just talked about, and he is dealing with the idea that you might not have the identity of this team. It's going to take longer to figure out the identity of this team. Now, does that mean, Nick, and here's the other part with Carson Beck, I think he got tired of treating that kid with kid gloves. I don't think he could have taken another full year of that, not blowing up on him when he threw a stupid interception.
Part of me wants to be critical of it, but the other part, I guess you have to understand that you cannot coach him the same way you coach Stetson Bennett.
No doubt.
And I think if you believe, I don't want to say I'm reporting this, but if you believe that Mike Bobo had the edge to him as far as who was dealing with Carson Beck in that regard, then Kirby maybe said, okay, better to do a good cop, bad cop in this situation.
I don't want to be uncomfortable being who I am as a football coach. And if I have to treat one guy that kind of differently, especially a quarterback, yeah, he's happy he's gone. Kirby will take this, everything he just talked about, until he doesn't want to take it anymore. That's when he'll go to the NFL. Or he'll retire with enough money. I'm not telling you it's today, tomorrow, next week, but you can hear in his voice, it's a new world order. He has to adapt to it, but there'll be a day when he says, you know what, I don't need to adapt anymore. I'm out.
I mean, for instance, you got outside linebacker, Quintavious Johnson and Chris Jones, who moved from inside linebacker, were the first two players going through drills. Both are second-year players, and Johnson only was a contributor on special teams last year. This is what you're dealing with at a place like Georgia. Dare I say, this is not something Kirby Smart has dealt with before.
No, and if it hits you all at one time, either transfers or graduations, and we know that Georgia's graduated really good players, there'll be a point of diminishing returns. Now, the diminishing returns is you're not good enough to win a national championship, which is where the bar is set. That's going to be problematic because you're going to be in a cycle every couple of years where more guys leave than you thought. Some guys play better. They leave as juniors to go to the NFL, and you're trying to replenish. By the way, this idea of reloading, that was much easier when everything was what it used to be. Kirby and Georgia can sell more. Now everybody can sell. You can get paid.
And I'm not saying everybody's going to be Jeremiah Smith, but are we going to see, and I'm not saying it's going to be as bad as college basketball is, if you want to call it bad, but will it be a trend now in NCAA football? Are you going to see more freshmen and sophomores playing quicker than maybe they would have in the past because of NIL, because of the transfer portal, because of the lack of depth, all of those things?
And, well, you better have the right ones come on campus, and spiritually, socially, intellectually, maturity, you're going to have to pick a little bit different than maybe, because the idea of sitting and waiting 2 years is done. It's done. I got some partner in crime now telling me, well, I gave that kid $50,000. Oh, what do I care what you gave him? Yeah, but you have to care because I might not give you $50,000
the Buddy Garrity's of the world are very, very much real and very, very much hands-on, you would believe, nowadays in college football.
They don't have to do drive-bys while a coach is cutting his own lawn. That's the story back in the old day with high school coaches. Coach is cutting his own lawn. The guy who's at, the car dealership says, hey, how we doing? Maybe you should think about this. That's done. These guys are in public now. They don't hide anymore.
No, I mean, you're probably having, maybe if not with Kirby directly, you're having meetings and it's getting filtered back. I would imagine a guy like Kirby has a buffer. I mean, you don't have direct access to Kirby.
No.
But there's a guy you're talking to who's getting it all back to Kirby Smart, what's happening, what people are saying behind the scenes.
But he's not going to have a GM for now because he doesn't want to have meetings with a guy. He wants to be more in control. I'll say there were 4 layers to get to Kirby. I don't know if Adam Gillespie's listening. And I don't even know if he would know or
what are the
us.
layers?
I'm not telling you I know what they are.
No, I mean, based on what you're saying, what do you think the layers are?
Oh, there's a no person. There's a Brian Finneran in the organization. Everything is no. Well, I need some time with Coach Smart. No, especially if you're not really a friend of program. You get the fastest no, and it's probably really no. I think there's an initial no, and then somebody says, well, we maybe should do this at least once this year. You know what I'm saying? And then he's behind the bookcase, right?
You don't know who
it
he
looks
is.
like this is the main office.
Right.
You're not in the main office. I hate to do this, but historically I'm correct about this. Walt Disney had 2 offices. You know what they were? More people got to go in one office than the other.
Do you think Arthur Blank has 2 offices?
Yeah. Yes. There's
Like
the
the
office.
one I was in and then the one you got to go in?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you stumbled right into that one.
Right.
I got you to admit it.
Thank you. Because Kirby Smart has.
Back in the old days when we were allowed on campus there at Flowery Branch.
We used to get invited in, but there was always one more office. These guys always have. Who the hell was it in the military? Damn. I watched a documentary about it. And this is the room where more people will be in. And then here's the room we're going to go back to where the real map is. You know, where the, what's that game called? Stratego, or you push
Risk.
chess pieces around? Yeah. Not everybody gets to see the room with the chess pieces as you push them across the continent of Europe.
I told you I had Lou Formick and Alex Manarino in my neighborhood at Lou Formick's house. They played Risk for, I want to say, 6 months. They just kept playing.
It's tremendous.
It was in the days before real video games. They would sit in that dining room and they would play forever.
So they would leave and just say, nobody touched the pieces.
yeah, you
and then
couldn't.
you would come back.
You couldn't go in that room, Chris.
Is it Risk for sure where you're trying to take over the world?
I'm pretty
Is
sure
that
it's
the game?
Risk. Yeah,
It's not like Battleship where people cheat.
I'm not sure they ever finished the game. Not sure it ever happened.
Did you hear what just happened in an arena of 20,000 people? The largest Dungeons and Dragons, and I didn't know this was still a thing. In a 20,000 seat arena, they were playing Dungeons and Dragons. Up on a board, people are watching Dungeons and Dragons masters play Dungeons and Dragons.
Feel free to haggle at the bazaar.
20,000 people. Look it up. I'm not even lying about this. 20,000 people watched other people.
Joey, what are we doing here?
I'm not Joey, I'm Balthazar.
Got to stay in character.
By the way, why did those idiots in your neighborhood think they were ever going to get to the end of Risk?
They didn't know any better.
It's like Monopoly. There is no end. My God, I give up.
So
That's what one of those guys should have said. All right, you win.
Right. So the Dungeons and Dragons deal is not to be confused with Comic-Con. You're actually playing the game. At Comic-Con, you're playing games in character, other games. And like anything goes because you're in character.
Yeah, I think so.
Like at the Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, this was
you're
an event where you're watching other people play Dungeons and Dragons.
You're actually just trying to win the game.
No. You're watching people play.
Right.
You're not even
Well,
playing.
you're also, like I said, you're also watching people play at Comic-Con, but it constitutes something completely different.
Yeah, I think there's a mixing of MCU and
It's
DC.
all right that she did what she did. She's Goldilocks.
What's that?
I'm the big bad wolf.
That's a different game.
Yeah. I don't know how much it costs to go to Comic-Con. I don't know what your game plan is. If you think your costume this year is going to be, it's going to draw them like flies.
Mm-hmm.
You're like honey. I don't know what people think. 20,000 people went to watch Dungeons and Dragons Masters play up on the big screen. What is going on?
So I got a feeling if we would go to something like that, we would be the ones bullied.
Oh, we're the outsiders. No doubt about it.
They would speak in code. He has no idea what he's stupid. No idea what we're saying.
I'll tell you this, too. Those shows now that sell cards and everything else.
Yeah.
You're grim to my Horace.
What are you talking about?
Do you understand what's going on at these things? Where the tables are set up. I was just at one a couple of weeks ago. 50 tables. Mm-hmm. There are 15 tables with kids who are 15 and younger. They're manning the table. They got the Pokemon cards.
Oh, yeah.
They got cases that look like they're carrying, it looks like heat. I think they handcuffed them to their own wrists to go out to the parking lot at the end because you don't want to get mugged.
The kids are growing up way too fast.